Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar 7 FME Server Use Cases to Convince Your Boss. So I'm Erin Lemke and I lead the product marketing team at SAFE.
And I'm Tina Shaw. I'm a product marketing specialist at SAFE.
I'm Chris Berger, and I'm joining from the Desktop Technology Experts team.
And our mission here at SAFE Software is to help organizations like yours maximize the value of your data, no matter where it's stored, what applications you use, or who you need to provide access to.
That's right. So at the City of Coquitlam, it's a great example of how FME has helped maximize the value of their data and how they've adopted FME across their entire organization. So they manage a variety of data that's available to the public, including property boundaries, roads, utilities, and large data sets such as orthophotos and LiDAR. And they wanted to make this information easily accessible through a self-serve spatial data catalog. Requests for data used to be manually extracted and packaged by city staff and could take up to 2 to 4 hours to process one request. Now this is all automated using FME. People know where to get this data and can request for it themselves with FME automating this delivery process. While this seems like a fairly straightforward project, the use of FME Server has resulted in the biggest cost and time savings for the city. So we know that we don't need to convince you that automating tasks would improve your workday. You've got more than enough on your plate, but we've had a lot of FME Desktop customers tell us that they need help convincing their boss that the automation provided by FME Server is the answer. So in this webinar, we hope to equip you with use cases to help you convince your boss. And at the end, we'll be providing you with a cheat sheet of all the information we cover today.
So for those of you who might be new to FME, I'm going to take a quick moment here to introduce the products that make up the FME platform so you can easily follow along with the webinar. The FME platform consists of FME Desktop, which is the authoring environment where you build your data integration workflows. This webinar focuses on the other product in the platform, FME Server, which automates your workflows and can be deployed on premises or in the cloud. As you can see in the images on the screen here, all of the product environments use a GUI. There's no coding required. For you to follow along in this webinar, it's important that you understand where FME Desktop is used compared to FME Server. So I'm going to provide a little more information. So FME Desktop is the authoring environment where you build your data integration workflows. This is where you design the details surrounding what the data sources are, how it needs to be transformed, such as data schema transformation, coordinate system reprojection, or filtering the data, even in a spatially aware way, and then writing it out to the required destination systems or applications. Where FME Server comes in is the automations. Using a GUI that we interestingly enough call automations, you design the way you want your workflows to run hands-free. These are the use cases we're going to focus on today. It's important to note that we offer flexible deployment models for FME Server, one of which is FME Server deployed in a fully hosted cloud environment, which we call FME Cloud. When we talk about FME Cloud today, we're talking about one way to deploy FME Server. We'll give you an overview of the complete list of deployment options at the end of the webinar.
And we just want to emphasize that FME isn't just about connecting data, it's about connecting teams too. It's more than just formats and systems, more than just geometry, and more than just repeatable workflows. FME is about helping you improve enterprise productivity by allowing data to move smoothly throughout your organization. FME might be known traditionally to GIS departments because it offers the best support for spatial data of any data integration system in the world. But the FME platform extends to the entire organization, bringing in departments and tools like asset management, finance, CRM, and more. In a nutshell, FME can connect to any web application and any database.
So let's get to know FME Server and find out why so many customers are choosing to deploy it so you can build your business case to justify implementing it in your organization. We'll go over each of the top 7 use cases we're seeing customers implement FME Server to accomplish, share more customer examples, and provide you with resources so you can get started right away with your own FME Server trial. If you already have FME Server, we're confident you'll find more ways you can gain value from your implementation. And as we go, feel free to type questions into the chat. We'll answer them as we go along, and we'll save a few minutes at the end to read out some so that we can answer on the air. So the first use case is to automate data integration. What we're talking about here is further automating how the workflows run to give you a hands-free experience and ensure that data is always current and always available to the people who need it. When using FME Desktop on its own, say with Windows Scheduler, you do have a way to automate workflows running, but it's quite restrictive. By adding FME Server to the mix, you can set up your workflows to be event-driven, which means they can run automatically when data changes or new data becomes available or when triggered by another event. This eliminates manual intervention, saving you and your team time and effort and freeing you up for innovation. It also removes any scheduling-based delays in data integration so that data is always current and available when, where, and how it's needed for efficient operations. Here's an example of a situation where automating data integration makes a big difference. In the city of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, the Child Abduction Response Team, called CART, wanted to enable real-time mapping and spatial data processing to help quickly deploy targeted search and rescue resources. A key component in this process is the gathering and tracking of leads, including the place last seen. When a member of the public sees something suspicious, for example, an item the child was carrying at the time, such as a backpack, they call 911 and the dispatcher enters the information into the leads tracker. After this information is entered, their last known location is saved in the SQL database as lat-long coordinates. This information used to be manually mapped in ArcGIS Online for the CART team to see. To automate this, they've implemented FME to process and map incidents, leads, and assets. For example, FME connects the lead tracking SQL database to ArcGIS Online and keeps the map up to date with new information reported by the public. The webhook triggers the script to run on FME Server, which creates a vertex from the lat long and buffers it by a quarter mile and writes both to the map. The map shows the place last seen and the buffer, enabling the team to focus initial search efforts within that area. Automatically generating maps frees their GIS team to focus on tasks that depend on human judgment, like verifying leads before they get mapped. Using FME ensures the spatial data is mapped more accurately and efficiently. Data is processed and sent to ArcGIS Online within seconds, enabling CART members to see critical real-time data from the command center to help recover a missing child. If you're interested in more about this story, you can watch the full presentation on demand. And the link for that is provided at the bottom of this slide, alongside additional resources to help you get started with automating your own data integration workflows using FME Server and the Automations GUI. You can check out these articles in the community and other inspirational customer stories to give you more ideas. So here's our first poll question for you. Would you find value in implementing event-driven workflows at your organization? We'll take a moment here so that you can answer that question, then we'll read out some of the answers as they come in. Sounds good. Yeah, so we do have a lot of people who are going to be thinking about this more, and quite a number of you that want to apply this to several projects. From here, I'll pass it over to Chris for a short demo and remind you to keep your questions coming into the chat. We'll be sure to answer them as we go along.
All right, so yes, as Erin mentioned, this is FME Workbench. This is the environment where you would be authoring your workflows. So the demo that we're going to be showing quickly is building your first automation. But before we can do that, you first have to build a workflow in FME Workbench. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, this is where you would add your readers. These are these guys here, the orange things, your transformers, which are the blue guys in the middle, and then your writers to have an output on the end. We're not going to dive too deep into this workspace, but at a high level, basically what we're doing is reading in CAD files, validating the geometry, writing valid features to our database, and then writing invalid features to an HTML report and a CAD file that will return. So since this has already been prepared for us, all we need to do is publish this to FME Server using the Publish to FME Server button. From there, we just have to walk through the Publish FME Server wizard. You select your connection. If you have multiple, you can choose from between them. In this case, we're just going to the server that I already have configured, upload it to, or publish to the workspace and the repository that you choose. This is very similar to just saving a file. In my case, that data validation FMW already exists in that repository, so I'll just overwrite it. Then you can choose your FME Server services. We'll touch more on these when we look at FME Server apps. So for now, we'll just leave them as is. Once that's been published, you'll see in the translation log that you get the URL of the direct link and the FME Server. I already have this open up on this screen. So we'll open up FME Server, and this is the web UI. Now, this is just the landing page. You can run workspaces in multiple ways, including the Run Workspace page, using automations, server apps, and more. We're going to be focusing on building an automation, so let's go to the Automation Build Automations page. And you'll notice that it's very similar to Workbench, where you're welcomed with a getting started splash screen that tells you kind of how to get things working. What we're going to be doing in this demo is setting up a trigger to watch a directory, which is currently located on this FME server. So we'll just choose the directory modified. We'll point it to that directory, which is in data, and it's in my directory, into the submissions folder. So we'll watch this submissions folder, and we're going to watch it every 10 seconds. So every 10 seconds, we're going to check to see, has a new file been added or has a file been overwritten? So we'll go ahead and apply that. So at this point, we've prepared the automation to watch the directory. Now we'll simply add an action. And while we're at this stage, automations are very similar to the Workbench environment, where you simply just drag and drop nodes and connect them with connections. Instead of having readers, transformers, and writers, we have triggers, actions, and external actions. Now, the action that we're going to perform here is run a workspace. We're simply going to point to the workspace that we just uploaded to FME Server, which is this data validation FMW. Here you can configure the parameters just like you would on any other workspace in FME Workbench. With the source Autodesk file, we're actually going to be watching that directory, so we can set it to that file that will be uploaded using this file path output key. So we'll go ahead and click apply, and you'll notice that the workspace has been successfully loaded. So we'll start the automation. First, we have to give it a name. 7 Reasons Webinar. Tags are optional. If you want to keep them organized, you can set those. So we'll go ahead and click OK. At this point, our automation is now running, so we can go to our resources folder, and this would be on the user's end. Again, this can be any directory that FME Server can access. Could be a shared directory, could even be a Dropbox or an FTP site. So we'll go into the submissions folder, and we'll drag in, the source file. We'll drag in an example of a DWG file. Now I know this file has bad geometry, so this will intentionally fail in the workspace, and we'll get an output in the process folder. Again, this doesn't necessarily have to be a server or a folder on the server. This could go out to a Dropbox or an FTP, or simply just live on the server itself. So this is just going to take a couple of minutes or a couple of moments to process, because we're watching every 10 seconds, and then we need a little bit of time for the workspace to actually run. So we'll hop in, and just like that, the workspace has now completed, and we'll see that there's an invalid submissions DWG, a valid submissions DWG, and a validation HTML report. We'll take a closer look at the validation HTML report when we look at server apps as well. So I think we can pass it back to Tina now.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. While I do that, there was a question that came in that said, can directory to, or like the directory watch trigger or automation watch an S3 bucket?
S3 buckets, right on. Let's check that out. So yes, there are a number of different triggers you can set. S3 bucket modified is definitely one of those options. You can also set it to SNS topics, SQS, Azure Grid Events, and even receiving an email can be an option as well.
So thanks, Chris, for that demo. Now that you've seen how you can automate data integration workflows, the second use case is delivering application integration. If you've attended some of our webinars in the past or the virtual world tour this year, you'll know that application integration is a use case that we're really excited about. It not only enables data to flow freely between various applications, but an application integration workflow opens the possibility to expand on key projects between teams and external vendors and improves operational efficiency while delivering actionable insight. With FME Server, designing an application integration workflow requires no coding at all, just a simple drag and drop interface as you saw earlier. You can design workflows that watch for new data and trigger action in that application and others, enabling you and your team members to keep using their preferred applications without requiring manual data entry between systems. Let's jump to a few customer use cases to show you how application integration workflows can be implemented. Going back to the city of Coquitlam, we mentioned how they're using FME for many projects across the city. Here's an application integration use case where they've used FME to integrate data between IBM Maximo, Tempest, which is their utility billing system, and a third-party cart vendor in order to orchestrate garbage and organics cart collection and to automatically update the resident's utility bill. Using FME, The workflow parses FME for requests, parses Maximo for requests that need to be addressed, such as the exchange of carts or the delivery of new carts, and creates a work order spreadsheet that's sent to the supplier. Once updated work orders are returned from the supplier, FME automatically modifies the resident's utility bill in Tempest to reflect any changes in cost. This resulted in a significant reduction in the work order turnaround time, minimized potential manual errors, while streamlining the data sharing process between city staff and the vendor. And as advanced and avid FME users, the city has used FME to integrate over 15 business applications and web services to date. Here are 3 more of the many city projects. The LED streetlights conversion program aims to replace 2,500 to 3,000 lights per year by 2022. With a project at this scale, manually keeping up with the number of inspections and work completed by the external contractor proved to be challenging and time-consuming. Using FME to integrate spreadsheet data and Oracle e-business suite, staff can now perform a variety of improved operational tasks, including quality assurance and data cleansing, and ensure a reliable billing process. Next, the city needed a way to centralize permit information for bylaw officers due to an expansion in public parking areas. Previously, bylaw officers had to manually enter and look up a license plate from multiple systems. After mounting their vehicles with an automated license plate reader, known as ALPR, an FME workflow pulls parking permit license plate information from Amanda, a permitting platform, when a license plate is scanned, and makes data available to the ALPR system. As a result, bylaw officers can quickly pull information and efficiently manage busy parking areas. And lastly, using their own in-house FME Server app, the city created an automated way to bulk process, package, and respond to as-built drawing requests. External contractors and internal capital construction crews can make a request through the app, define the desired area, and download related as-built drawings. FME Server will query their document management system, OpenText, pull the necessary files, and bulk package this for the user to download. Our last story for this use case is Surrey's water meter improvement project. The city chose FME to replace database level integrations with near real-time API-based updates to eliminate the manual effort of re-entering data between systems. Now, when someone wants a water meter installed, they request a permit using Amanda, and FME orchestrates live communications between Amanda for permitting, CityWorks for asset management, and Esri for GIS. Meter status can now be viewed by the public prior to installation, and coordination between inspectors, contractors, city engineers, taxation staff, and surveyors is handled automatically. Once installed, meters are immediately marked as in service rather than waiting weeks or even months delay. You can find a variety of resources on our website, including knowledge articles and on-demand webinars that show you how to get started with topics such as APIs. So we hope you feel inspired to implement application integration workflows into your projects, and we're going to run another poll. How might application integration help your organization? Awesome. So it looks like many of you already have systems and apps in mind that you'd like to integrate, and there's a number of you that aren't sure at the moment, and some people realize that this is exactly what you need. So that's awesome.
Thanks, Tina. So let's take a look at the next use case for FME Server. Provide self-serve data integration. FME Server enables you to democratize your data integration workflows. You no longer need to process each and every integration request that comes in. You can design workflows for common integration requirements at your organization, and then hand off the responsibility of running them to FME Server and the person with the request without requiring this person to have any technical knowledge of the workflow. It's quick and easy to build FME Server apps that anyone can run. In fact, Chris is going to show you how to create an example here shortly, and I think you'll be really surprised how fast it can be. Alternatively, you can create custom apps using the FME Server REST API. Let's look at a few examples. At the City of Burnaby, GIS staff were fulfilling an ever-increasing demand for one-call reports. Like most cities and utility companies, they are required by law to provide citizens and businesses with underground infrastructure information for a worksite before construction begins to keep assets secure and people safe. The volume of applications to dig have increased by more than 6,000% within the past 2 decades, and they continue to grow. Burnaby decided to automate the process with FME Server, delivering self-serve data clipping and integration to the public without requiring the technical knowledge on the part of the person making the request. Once a request is placed, FME Server automatically kicks off the process, delivering an email with the requested one-call package in 3 minutes, far faster than the 3 days it was taking the team before. The City of Henderson is also providing self-serve data integration, but instead of sending out a data package, they're receiving data. Like many cities, they require as-built CAD drawings to be submitted by land developers, and they have used FME Server to provide a self-serve data upload and validation service. This has freed up the GIS team, reducing data integration time by 75%, eliminating the risk of manual error, and ensuring that CAD data is validated consistently before it's added to their dataset. If there are any errors, the system provides this information to the person uploading the data so they can correct its accuracy and try again. Chris is going to demo this in a moment, but first let's take a look at some of the resources that are available to help you get started with providing self-serve data integration. You can check out more details on the customer projects I showed you today, and you can follow this article in the community to get started with FME Server apps yourself. So let's open up the polls again. Now that you've learned more about providing self-serve data integration workflows, would you find value implementing them in your organization? Yeah, so it looks like some of you are going to think about this more, and some have some projects you already have in mind for that. So here I'll pass it over to Chris to show you the demo of this in action.
Okay, so here we go. We're back into the FME Server web UI. In the first example, we showed how to build an automation, and in this example, we're going to build a server app with that same workspace that we've already published. I would say server apps are probably one of my favorite features of FME Server because it's a great way to make non-users run workspaces and not even know it. So it's very easy to build. You just go to the server apps page and build app. Then from here, once it loads up, it's just as simple as entering in a little bit of information. So you have to give it a name, of course. 7 reasons webinar. Point it to the directory. It's very similar to that automation run workspace. Select the workspace and choose the service. So I mentioned that I would explain the services a bit more in detail in this example. So what you'll notice is we publish the workspace with 3 services. The first one is data download, and it kind of does exactly what it says. It will provide the output of the workspace as a download in a zipped folder as soon as the workspace has completed. The second one, data streaming, would be something where you can stream something like an HTML report or a PNG, KML, or PDF right back then and there to the user's web browser. This is a great option if you want to have self-serve with some response from the workspace completing. And the last option is job submitter, and this is simply just running the workspace. Let's have it set to data download. And you can also see that you can ensure authentication. So you can make sure that only users who are set up to run set up on FME Server can run this. Users can upload, and you can set additional permissions as well. The big benefit of FME Server apps is that all of the parameters that you've configured in the workspace are still accessible, and that's all the user needs to set. So it's a very simple interface for them to run. And the last bit we're going to touch on is just this customize option. So you can make this, instead of looking like a generic FME Server app, you can make this look like it's customized a bit more to your organization. So we can go ahead and upload our own header image. This can be any image. There are size limits, but as long as you meet that, it'll be fine, and your own icon as well. So just like that, we've created our first server app. As soon as you hit OK, you'll be presented with a URL to that server app. And then you can go ahead and run it and distribute this to as many users, like I said, whoever has a web connection out there. So this is running the exact same workspace, and oops, that's the wrong one. We want the bad data DWG. So we'll go ahead and run this data validation as a server app now. This one is going to be running with the data download service. So what we expect is a URL for a zip file once this completes. There we go. Once we click that file, it'll download to our local machine. A similar example of this, and this is just showing what a generic FME Server app would look like if you didn't upload your own image and set your own header, is something like this. And we can use this exact same data set, and this is going to be the data streaming example. So we'll let that load, click OK. let the workspace do its thing. And now what we see in the output is that the data is streamed right back to us. So we can already visualize which features have failed the validation. So I know on my end, I can go back and edit these features and re-upload them. And that's really how easy it is to create server apps. So I can go ahead and pass it back to Tina.
Awesome. So now that you've seen how quick and easy it is to deliver self-serve data integration and build an FME Server app, let's talk about the benefits of sending emails and notifications with FME Server. Using an intuitive GUI to automate the flow of information, FME Server allows you to configure emails and notifications to ensure that critical information is delivered to stakeholders immediately. This can be job failure notifications to the admin group or an email with HTML content that contains links for the user to download. These are just a few examples. Ultimately, FME Server can help inform data-driven decisions by automatically delivering reports, emails, and dashboards as information changes. In a few moments, Chris will continue the demo and show you what this looks like. But first, let's see a real-life application from the California Earthquake Authority. Also known as the CEA, they are a publicly managed, privately funded nonprofit insurance company offering affordable earthquake coverage for residential properties in California. They needed to know immediately when an earthquake occurs with the potential to impact their policyholders. To do this, they use FME to monitor the Shake Map dataset email notification service, and when new maps become available, their system immediately identifies if earthquakes in their coverage area are strong enough to pose significant damage. If so, the workflow extracts shaking intensity data from shapefiles, places it into a report, and emails stakeholders, all within minutes of earthquakes being detected. In fact, the system was so fast that the source shake map couldn't keep up, and they had to proactively slow FME down. The CEA used FME Cloud, which saves software fully hosted in an AWS environment, which provides time and cost savings over maintaining in-house servers. If you want to perform this kind of monitoring with spatial awareness, you can use FME to perform these actions and deliver the output wherever you like, for example, your business intelligence platform. If you'd like to learn more about emails and notifications in FME Server, check out these resources for more information. So once again, we like to run a quick poll before we pass it back to Chris, but remember that our chat is also open, so feel free to keep sending your questions in. So would you find value in implementing emails and notifications in your organization? Okay, so it looks like there's a pretty equal split between some of you that are doing it manually. You definitely want to automate this, and this looks like this is something that stakeholders have been asking for in real time. Information and reports would be really helpful, so amazing. So we'll just pass it back to Chris now.
Awesome. So yeah, we're just jumping back to that first demo, and we're really just going to finish it up by adding an email external action. So very similar to adding an action, you just have to click and drag to bring it in, and then connect it to whatever output connection you want. So in this case, for those of you who are new to FME Server, I'm actually connecting it to an FME Server automations writer feature type. Now, this is very similar to running a workspace runner in your workspace, if you're familiar with that, where only the features that are sent to this writer feature type will be sent to the external action. This can also be configured to run only if there's a failure of the workspace or on completion or success of the workspace as well. So let's go ahead and configure the email external action. You'll see that there's a number of external actions in this list as well. In this example, we're just going to be sending an email. So we can load a template from any of the popular services. We're going to use Gmail in this case. Connect it to our email, enter in the credentials, and then set who you're going to send it to. Now, you can type the email address directly in here, or if you have access, or if you have this information in the workspace in the form of attributes, you can actually access this from the FME Server Automations writer feature type. So you'll see in this dropdown, there's the workspace, failed validation email. These are all my attributes coming from that writer feature type. So I know that the email I want to send it to is in this notify attribute. So I'll send the email from is the same email address. The email subject, again, I have this set in the workspace. So I will actually pull this from that attribute, which is the subject. The email format is HTML. And the body, again, is coming from that workspace. Let's connect it there. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and validate it. And if we scroll up to the top, we'll see that all these email parameters are valid. It's connecting with the correct email address and password. So we'll go ahead and apply this. So we can start this automation. I don't want to save that right now. And this is just running that exact same automation from the first example. So we'll go ahead and drag and drop our bad data into this submissions folder, wait the 10 seconds and let this run. And then in just a moment, we'll see that an email will appear and I'll switch over to my inbox. And while this is going, we'll actually scroll down in the email section. And you'll notice that there's also an email attachment section here as well. So you can have files attached to these emails. At the moment, you can only have a single file. So if you wanted to have multiple files bundled into a single email, you just simply have to zip it and then attach it to that email attachment. So I see that the one has appeared, and lo and behold, our results are in. The submission has failed the QA. So we know that this is at the server time, so this is actually 3:36. Files are submitted and failed the workspace in our automation. Please review these and update the database as soon as you can. This is a quick example of how you can automate or complete the automation by adding an email external action.
Next up is the use case of delivering self-serve data access. For those of you who have heard me speak before, I say this a lot. Organizations spend a lot of money building their data sets, but data is only as valuable as it is used. This use case helps ensure that everyone has access to the data they need. Many jurisdictions today have open data regulations, and FME Server can help you fulfill these requirements hands-free. With FME Server, you can deliver on data requests without any manual intervention. You set up an FME Server app or custom web app and allow people to access the data they need in their required format, structure, and coordinate system. Geoscience Australia, the National Geological Survey, needed to deliver terabytes of elevation data more efficiently to other government agencies, academia, and the public. They chose FME Cloud alongside AWS S3 to provide an automated system for data delivery that was scalable as new data sets were added. Cleverly named ELVIS, the Elevation Information System, it provides users the ability to download data for their area of interest in both the format and coordinate system of their preference. Those requesting elevation data can now receive the data by email in 5 minutes, and large orders can be downloaded within the hour. The project has reduced costs by 600%, manual effort by 80%, and delivery speed by 98%. There are many customers using FME Server to deliver self-serve access to data, whether that's by providing data portals or download services. FME Server is helping teams deliver data faster and with less effort than ever before. Here are a few more customer stories that can help inspire ideas of how you could implement this at your organization. So let's jump back to the polls and check in with you. Would you find value implementing self-serve data access like data portals and download services at your organization? All right, so yeah, we do have a few people saying they're going to think about this more, and some people that have ideas already of what projects they're going to apply this to. So I'll pass it over to Tina for the next use case.
All right, so moving on to our 6th use case, integrate data streams. FME can help you connect to and process data streams no matter where the data is from. Whether it comes from sensors, devices, web services, or applications, FME is able to process the data stream so you can leverage real-time data as easily as any other data source. Specifically with FME Server, you can connect to a variety of data stream sources and integrate it with any other data type supported by FME. Can send and receive data streams via protocols including MQTT, Kafka, cloud services, and more. You can also analyze and distribute data from sensors for situational awareness and decision automation, notifying the right stakeholders at the right time, and monitor data for assets, vehicles, maintenance operations, storms, flooding, lightning, and other critical IoT data to make informed business decisions. So let's take a look at 2 examples. So PowerLink Queensland wanted to create a fully automated, data-driven emergency management system for bushfires, cyclones, flooding, thunderstorms, and earthquakes. This involved consolidating infrastructure data, monitoring for severe weather events, performing impact analysis, and sending informative reports to stakeholders when infrastructure is at risk. Using FME, they built a connected series of workflows to monitor for events, such as when a meteorology website posts a weather alert, and analyze the potential risk and impact. When emergency criteria are met, FME automatically delivers reports to stakeholders in accessible formats like PDF, which contain layered maps that enable decision-making. The fully automated FME-powered system runs an average of 2,500 jobs per day, monitoring for events, sending notifications, and generating mapping products. With their automated emergency readiness system in place, PowerLink staff can make decisions based on informative datasets. Since notifications are only sent if emergency criteria are met, stakeholders can focus on critical information, reducing the time spent on emergency event handling from days to hours. NamPower wanted to build a SCADA dashboard, also known as Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, to integrate power utility network data and enable staff to analyze live power line activity. They used FME to integrate spatial data from multiple sources, including power line voltage and power plants from their existing microSCADA system, network data from Small World GIS, and vehicle GPS data from a cloud database API. FME displays this on an HTML web page with an interactive Google Maps and keeps it up to date with new information. This dashboard provides an integrated view of all information and enables staff to see power flows via the web. Engineers can view critical data and make decisions in the field. If you'd like to learn more about NamPower's story or to see how FME Server has enabled various organizations to integrate real-time data, check out the resources highlighted here. So we know this can be a complex topic to navigate, and we'd like to know if you would be interested in more resources about data streams in IoT. All right, so it looks like most of you see that this could be valuable for projects in the future. So we'll definitely keep that in mind as we build more resources. And our last FME Server use case for today is scale integration power. As organizations begin to take on more data integration initiatives, you and your IT or ops department might be wondering how to scale and perform these new projects on volumes of data beyond what your current system architecture or infrastructure will allow. With FME Server, you have the ability to optimize your data integration processing power through various ways and take advantage of data gravity so that you can run FME Server on servers that are architecturally close to where the data is stored. This could be on premises with a single host or distributed deployment, or in your preferred private or public cloud environment. We'll get into some of these specific deployment options in the next few slides. This will not only provide you with the flexibility to scale and optimize FME Server to best fit your organization's needs, but it also offers you the opportunity to implement a resilient data integration strategy with security, fault tolerance, load balancing, and queue prioritization. And with the added value of having a central repository for data and projects, user-defined access, system alerts, and more. Here are some technical resources that will help you and your teams navigate FME Server scalability and performance power. And for our last poll question today, we'd like to know if data integration, processing power, and deployment options are key considerations for your organization. Okay, that's awesome. So great to see that this has been a topic of discussion for many of you. And yeah, thank you for answering our polls for today. We have a few more slides to get through.
Yeah, so we're gonna wrap up the webinar here and give a little bit more information about how you can get started afterwards, and then open it up to Q&A for those of you who want to stick around. As you've seen today, FME Server can help you save time and money by helping you automate your data integration workflows. And for those of you who expressed to us that you needed help convincing your boss about FME Server, I hope the use cases we covered in today's webinar have equipped you with the ability to build your business case that justifies implementing it in your organization. Be sure to watch for the follow-up email we send you after the webinar, as it contains a cheat sheet providing all the information we covered today. You can use this to support the conversations you have at work or as a piece to share directly with a decision maker in your organization. For the rest of you, we hope you're inspired by the many ways you can make the most of your FME investment.
So as mentioned earlier, you have the flexibility to deploy, scale, and optimize FME Server to best fit your organization's needs. So we'll go over some of these options right now. When you install FME Server on premises and directly onto your own hardware, FME Server can be deployed as a Windows or Linux installer. With this option, though, you'll have to keep in mind that you'll have to plan for manual security updates, scalability, and performance. If you prefer a fully hosted version, FME Cloud is the way to go. You can set this up yourself or talk to one of our managed service providers to get started and have FME Server running and ready for you and your team to use in minutes. And we'll take care of all of the server maintenance, backups, and ensure uptime for you. This is also a great option for all enterprise sizes. There's also the option to deploy FME Server on a cloud platform of your choice through Docker or Kubernetes, or create a virtual machine in your cloud platform and install FME Server onto it the same way you would on premises. As with an on-premises deployment, you'll have to plan for manual security updates, scalability, and performance. There's also the option to deploy FME through the Google Cloud Marketplace or Azure Marketplace. This reduces the need for manual configuration, and FME is pre-configured and tailored for the cloud, allowing you to launch FME in just a few clicks. On both Google Cloud and Azure Marketplaces, you can launch both FME Desktop and Server through one virtual machine. Coming later this summer, there will be the option for a multi-VM deployment of FME Server on the Azure Marketplace. Currently, these are all available via BYOL, which stands for Bring Your Own License, which means that you'll need to have an existing license. So if you're using a trial version of FME Server, you'll just need to enter your trial license to get started.
And we provide flexible licensing options for every organization. In the middle here, you can see the pricing model we've used for a long time, where licenses are sold by seat on FME Desktop and by engine on FME Server. Annual updates and support are provided at 20% of the list price. This is ideal for small organizations or single department deployments and organizations who prefer ownership models. The one we're finding is increasingly popular with our customers is our new subscription pricing plan on the left, where you get customized bundles of FME Desktop and Server licenses, which include updates and support for one annual price. This is ideal for organizations wanting to deploy the full FME platform and organizations who find it harder to procure the upfront cost of perpetual licenses. Subscriptions they unlock flexibility and cost savings that are not available through perpetual licensing. For example, the local government plan is priced by population size, providing as many FME Desktop and Server licenses and engines as you'd like, and the price is capped by your population size. This model enables small towns to deploy the entire FME platform, so the lowest tier is less than the price of FME Server with one engine. This enables towns to use the same technology that the largest cities use, deploying successful architecture including test, development, and sandbox environments as needed. We're seeing the reach of FME expand, becoming the enterprise solution of choice for data integration across both GIS and IT departments. And we're providing this pricing option to help you deploy the entire FME platform across your departments more easily. Subscription packages are available for many industries, and if you don't see one that looks like it works for you, just contact us and we'll help you. We're very flexible. On the right-hand side, you can see cloud deployments. As Tina mentioned, FME Cloud offers an excellent opportunity for cost savings and flexibility. You can start on FME Cloud in minutes, eliminating hours of configuration time on an in-house server environment, making it well suited to proofs of concept. You don't invest in hardware or licensing, and when you're ready to move into production, you choose your preferred deployment model, in cloud or on premises.
And if you're not ready to commit to a licensing option, we also have flexible free trial options for you as well. You can try FME Server free for 60 days and select the deployment option that works best for you. You can also take advantage of the free trial to build proofs of concepts for your project. Or you can try FME Cloud and receive a free $250 credit when you sign up. You and your team can use these credits however you like, which means you could run FME Cloud during business hours for a full month completely free.
So now we have some time to take your questions. On the screen, you'll see the list of use cases we covered today, in case that inspires any additional questions that you were thinking about through the webinar.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Let me just pull up some questions here. We did have a question about the how does FME Server fit within the FME platform? What's the difference between the FME platform and FME Server?
That's a great one, Steph. Yeah, so the FME platform encompasses all the product offerings that Safe Software provides. So when we say FME platform, we're talking about everything. FME Desktop, which is the authoring environment for the workflows, FME Server, which is the automations environment for the workflows, and then the other things that we offer as well, like our FME Data Express, FME AR app, those free mobile applications that are available that work with the rest of the FME products.
Great. And then another question. what tools are available for an FME server admin?
Yes, so that's a great question. There's a ton of different tools available to the server admin. One question that came in was, I have a company and I want to manage my directories. Can I do that with FME Server? And the answer is yes. We aren't going to manage the permissions on your local machine or on your Azure cloud or on AWS cloud, but in terms of permissions on FME Server, you can allow access to automations, connections, seeing the workspaces, seeing certain repositories or resources. So you can set individual permissions based on the user or based on roles as well. So there's a ton of different options there, and we have a great getting started with permissions guide in the documentation as well.
Very cool. Chris, this might be a question for you too. How many tasks can run simultaneously on a server?
So that's based per engine. I believe the answer is two, or it's one job per engine. I think that's kind of how it works. We can definitely follow up with that and confirm, but we do also have the option of dynamic engines that was just introduced as well. So say you have a surge of jobs coming in all at once, that dynamic engines can kick in and then kind of process all those jobs, take away from the credits, and then kind of settle back down to the normal number of engines you have.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That gives more flexibility to run jobs in parallel.
Yeah, so if you're ever worried about, oh, I don't have enough engines, but realistically you're going to have engines sitting idle for, I don't know, 3/4 of the year, that would be a great opportunity for dynamic engines, because those one-off opportunities where you need, say, 20 engines to run, that's a great opportunity to take advantage of those instead of paying for 8 engines to just sit there for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and the PowerLink example that Tina shared earlier was a good one as well, where you're watching for storms and things like that. You know, you don't know how many events you're going to have in the year that are going to be natural disasters or emergencies that you're needing to respond to. And in those moments, you know, the response time is really critical. And so you may want to spin up a whole bunch of dynamic engines to handle that load for that short period of time. So that could be another really good use for just making sure you're able to handle that sudden load.
Yeah. Okay, maybe just a couple more minutes of questions. I did see a question asking about whether or not we're going to send the presentation out. And yes, we're definitely going to send that out, and the video and a cheat sheet. So you'll get an email containing everything. We also had a question about our subscription models, the ones that we currently offer, and some of them like AEC that maybe aren't currently offered. We just did a webinar on that recently. I will chat out the link for that on subscription models, but we are constantly looking at adding more. So I will flag that and pass it along to our team. But definitely check out that webinar as well, which I will share. Another question is, can jobs trigger other jobs to run?
Yes, absolutely. So that would be set up using FME Server automations. You could even have it where you set up a server app to run and then trigger follow-up jobs as well. That would just be done using making sure that the output of the server app goes into a certain folder, which could then trigger an automation. With regards to chaining jobs in automations, yeah, you can definitely do that. Again, they can be based off of if the previous job succeeds, or if you use the FME Server automations writer feature type, you can split off features so that only those features go into the next workspace, and you can get pretty complex with that.
Yeah, and so you can support all the complex enterprise integration patterns using FME server automations, running jobs in parallel, choosing exactly what the next course of outcome will be based on how the previous job ran.
Exactly, yeah. And even on the slide that we're showing right now, you can see just in the screenshot of that computer, both of those orange objects, they are connected to each other and then connected to other orange objects down the line. Those don't necessarily have to be run workspaces, but in this case, I can see that they are. So that's kind of how you would build kind of chains of workspaces to run one after another.
Great. I think questions are starting to slow down. Erin, were there any other ones that you wanted to cover?
I think that covers all the ones that I've seen come in that I thought we could feature here. But by all means, I want everyone to feel like they can continue asking questions after we close this down. We're going to keep it open a little bit longer, so you can ask questions in there. And if we don't get to your question during the webinar live here, we'll be sure to follow up with you afterwards. And of course, you can always reach out to SAFE at any time. We'll be happy to answer your questions as you get started using the resources that you saw today.
Yeah, exactly. We also have live chat on our website, safe.com, where you can reach us there as well. So, but I think with that, thanks so much everyone for the time today and all the excellent questions coming in. Chris, Aaron, and Tina, great job, you guys. I will put this on mute and we'll hang around for a few more minutes if there's any last questions being chatted in. Thank you all.